Kitchen. I am so glad to see you. Thank you for joining us today. You're going to be smelling something super wonderful if you join us for this whole video. We are making cinnamon rolls today. Is your mouth watering just saying that? Because mine is. And I'm going to show you how to make cinnamon rolls like my grandmother used to show me, like my grandmother taught me. You are going to love it, and you're going to want to make these cinnamon rolls for anything you do. This is going to be your go-to recipe. So get your stuff and come on and let's do this. I'm going to tell you what you're going to need. You're going to need 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, if you ever see a recipe that just says flour, usually that just means all-purpose flour. If they're talking about a different kind of flour, usually they'll be more specific in saying cake flour or self-rising flour. But usually if the recipe just calls for flour, it's all-purpose flour. So it's 4 cups of all-purpose flour. And if you see APF, that means all-purpose flour. 1 cup of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of salt. Oh, and if you ever run into the deal where you're trying to determine like which kind of sugars, if your recipe calls for granulated sugar is just the kind you get in that old bag in the store. You know, it's just the one that's got little granules, just your regular sugar. Now, if you see, you know, confectioner sugar has like 2 different names, confectioner sugar or powdered sugar. Those are the same thing, okay? So today we're using granulated sugar in just this part. We'll get to the powdered sugar later. We have 1/3 cup of butter, and we're going to have it soft. Make sure it's softened. We have 2 eggs, and we have 1 cup of warm milk. And we have active dry yeast. You can use the fast-acting dry yeast. Okay, so I already have mine measured out in a bowl. So I wanted to show you guys, you know, just one of these is usually all you need. It usually says it's 1/4 of an ounce. So let's just get started. I'm excited. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and mix up some of these ingredients and get it going. And listen, hey, I'm going to show you, you think, well, I can't make cinnamon rolls because I don't have a proof box. I'm going to show you that you have a proof box right in your own house and you didn't even know it. So hang in there with us, and we're gonna make these cinnamon rolls. Okay, we're gonna go ahead. The very first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna pour our warm milk. Now you want your milk to be maybe around 120 degrees. And I'm gonna pour that in there, and that's gonna help activate your yeast. Okay.
Is it rolling?
Mm-hmm. And I think mine is, and I'm gonna pour my yeast in there. Well, you can go ahead and just kind of barely just shuffle it around. You don't want to over stir it. You want your yeast to foam. And we're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes so that it can get nice and foamy and activate that yeast. And then we're going to mix up our ingredients for the cinnamon rolls. See you in 10 minutes. Okay guys, we are going to go ahead and we're going to add the sugar. We're going to mix this up. Whoa. Our yeast now has been sitting for 10 minutes, and we're just going to add the sugar, salt, the butter, And then we're going to add the eggs. We're going to stir that up. We're now going to add our flour. Now I'm going to stop that and I'm going to grab my dough hook. It seems to work pretty good. Okay, I've got my dough hook on there and I am just going to mix that right up and it should form a dough ball. I've got it locked into place so it doesn't just start jerking everywhere because it's going to get kind of thick. And you can kind of see how the dough, when you know your dough is right and it's mixing, it takes the stuff off the edge. I don't even have to scrape the edge of the bowl because the dough is already cleaning the bowl itself pretty much. Now I'm going to turn that off. Okay guys, our dough is now mixed up. We are going to go ahead and pour this dough on our counter. And you can kind of see that it's out of there. My dough feels nice and warm, and you see when I'm touching it, it's not sticky and it bounces back. See how it's bouncing back? See how it pulls back? That dough is just right. Now if you don't have a mixer, don't worry about it, okay? Because you can always knead your dough. This is called kneading, okay? You can mix up your dough when you get your other ingredients mixed up and you put your flour mixture in. You can just mix it by with your you kind of do your knuckles like this, and you just, you know, like that. Okay, so I'm just kind of punching it a little bit, pressing it with my knuckles, and I now have my dough and it feels nice and warm, and I have greased like a bowl here, lightly greased it, and I'm going to put that dough inside of this bowl. Now you can always cover it and let it sit out, but what we're going to do, like I told you before, I always use like a little proof box. Now I don't have a bakery proof box, I just make one, and the way I make it is on my oven. I have turned my oven on and it got a little bit warm, probably in the 100 degrees. It's now good enough to where a proof box basically is warm inside and it's moist. A lot of times it'll have some water. You'll have some water in the bottom. The proof box and the moisture to stay inside of there, and it allows your baked goods to rise. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn our oven into a proof box, and you can too. So all I did is back here I have some boiling water, and I bet I can just take this boiling water and I'm going to put it on the bottom rack in my oven. And you see how that steam's coming up? That steam's going to do the same thing that your water in a proof box would do. That steam's going to rise. And my oven's still just a little bit warm. We don't want it hot enough to cook our dough. We just want it warm. And so This right here is going to allow the steam. Okay, so be sure if you do this to when you put a pan in your oven, I'm just using a stainless steel pot, and that works perfectly because it's not going to melt my pan. Okay, I just put it right there on the bottom rack, and I'm going to put my dough right there, and it's just, you can see the steam coming up. Now we're going to let this stay in our proof box oven for 1 hour, and we're going to check on it. If our dough was good, it should double in size. So we'll check back on it. You've seen what they're doing, the dough. We're about 30 minutes into the rising process, and while that's rising, we're going to mix up our icing and get it ready for when the cinnamon rolls gets done. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our powdered sugar, and all you need for this is you need, I don't even know, maybe I poured some black coffee. We're making coffee icings. Now, I forgot to tell you, these are not just regular cinnamon rolls. These are coffee cinnamon rolls, okay? My grandmother used to make these, and they were the best cinnamon rolls in the world. So, I think she would want you to know, how to make these cinnamon rolls, because you can't buy this cinnamon roll at the store. So I don't even know, I just have some black hot coffee. She made hers with black coffee. And I have about a 1/3 cup of butter here. And I have a teaspoon of vanilla. And I have a bag of powdered sugar. And, you know, honestly, I'm just going to eyeball everything. It's really just getting it to the consistency, the thickness of your icing that you want it to be. And that's what I'm going to do. I really am not used to using a lot of measurements sometimes when I cook, and so it throws me sometimes. So that's where I get off sometimes. We're going to go ahead and put some butter in there. And the vanilla. We're just going to whisk them together, and you can see that I'm going to need something else because it's not quite going to be thin enough, and that's where your coffee comes in. I usually just add it until I get it to the thickness that I desire for my cinnamon rolls. And if I get it too thin, I can always add more powdered sugar, so it's not a big deal. And I know how to make these because, you know, I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my grandma, and she taught me how to make these wonderful things. Woo, looky there. You know, I'm going to want something pretty thick, so I think that's just about there. It's kind of hard to stir, but I'm going to try to hold that and give it just a tad bit more. There we go. Just a little bit to thin it down. There it goes. And right. I'm using a plastic bowl, and my bowl just broke. But we're going to keep on moving forward. Okay, so I guess it's time to get a new bowl. I guess I should have used a glass bowl. That's alright. It didn't can get in the icing. We're gonna taste it and see what this tastes like. Now you can make it thinner.
That looks like dough.
Oh my goodness. Tastes just like coffee, sweet coffee. And that's just the consistency I really want it to be, is kind of thick. Because I'm going to spread them on those hot cinnamon rolls, and it's going to give a little bit of a melting action. It's still going to be thick. We'll show you what these look like. Okay guys, I think our dough is rose enough that it's time. Our timer has gone off. We're going to get ready now, and we're going to roll this dough out, and we're fixing to make some beautiful cinnamon rolls out of this so we can pop them in the oven. Look at how big that dough is. Looks like a big old cupcake, don't it? It's nice and warm. If I touch it, it's nice and warm, and you can see how it's bouncing back when I press on it. It's perfect. And I am going to get it out of here. I'm going to get it out of the bowl, and we're gonna roll it out. You can see inside my oven, in case you didn't know, there's little droplets of water from where we turned it into a proof box, and the moisture stayed inside of that proof box, allowing that dough to rise. So, all right, we have our icing made. We're going to make sure we start with a nice dry surface, okay, because you want your surface to be dry, okay. You don't want your dough to get, you know, soggy. And we are going to go, I've laid out some I've just got some self-rising flour here that I've put out, and I'm just going to dust my flour, I'm just going to dust my counter with it like this. Isn't that just beautiful? I mean, I'm putting my hands on that. It is so warm, and it to the touch. It's so soft. I mean, it's absolutely, you can tell that it's just the right. So I'm just going to sprinkle it with a little bit of flour, and I'm going to pat it down. I'm going to treat it very gentle. And I'm going to make sure I'm working on a nice floured surface. My daughter heard something very funny, and she can't control her laughter. All right. So now with this, when we get this rolled out, you're going to want about 1/3 of a cup of soft butter. You can see how soft that is. It's just sticking to my finger. And I've got about 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. And I have a cup of packed brown sugar, and I'm going to show you what to do with those when we get this rolled out. And we're just going to lightly roll this. I don't want it too flat. You're going to leave your dough a little bit thick, not too thick, but. And we are just we're going to love roll this, okay? And I want to tell you that I really appreciate those of you that reach out and ask us questions. That really means a lot to us. We listen to that, and we take those questions into consideration and to help us make better videos. We'll be sure to incorporate, you know, things that you guys reach out to us. And we love you. We thank you for watching. You guys mean a lot to us. I'm just going to pull that out. I'm going to dust it a little bit more. Love rolling it. That's what we're doing. We're love rolling it. So pretty. can see that it's nice and still, you know, maybe about a quarter of an inch thick on the sides, you know, because we're going to roll this up and we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to take my butter. I'm going to take the best tools I have, which is my hand, and I'm just going to spread that butter right on that dough. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? You can see it's nice and buttery. All right, nice and buttery. Now we're going to put some cinnamon on top of that. Now I like cinnamon. I like to, when I bite into a cinnamon roll, I want to taste the cinnamon. I don't want it to just be a sweet roll, I want it to be a cinnamon roll. So we're going to put some cinnamon on it. Now we got to make these things nice and sweet. Nice and sweet. Good sweet cinnamon rolls. I'm getting a little bit off the dough, but that's okay. It'll just make them taste that much better. We're going to use all of it. Oh gosh. Woo! Is your mouth watering? I had a little bit of leftover butter. I'm just going to put that right in there. It's just going to make it taste good. Gosh. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll these up. I have meat. We're going to, when we get these cut and rolled up, we're going to put them just in a greased iron skillet that I have. And I like to bake them in something that has sides. If you bake them on something that's flat, they tend to spread more flat than rise up when they're baking. So we're going to put them in something that has sides. So when I'm rolling them, I start off with a little tiny roll right here, and then I kind of just fold over the ends like that, and I just kind of, it's kind of a lift and a roll, a lift and a roll, and then I just kind of fold in the sides again. We don't want any of that that goo to fall out. We want to preserve that as much as possible. We want to keep it inside. Lift and roll, lift and roll, lift and roll. Look how fat that log is. Oh my goodness. Gosh. We're going to make sure we have a nice dusted counter here. All right. Now that's a beautiful log. Okay, we're going to use this. We're going to use, it's kind of a little, I use it for many things, like a scraper to cut my pastries, baked goods sometimes. I love this thing. I even use it to scrape down my counter. So we're going to cut our cinnamon rolls, and I'm just going to cut that very end off. And we can even preserve it. And I usually just try to flour it. And I'm going to set it right there. And we're going to cut these maybe about, oh gosh, maybe a little over an inch thick. 1.5 inches thick. I'm just going to set that in my pan. Woo! Those are so pretty. I kind of just take them and I help them bloom with my hands. I shape them. Look at that. Is that pretty? And I want to hug them a little bit in my pan. Oh, look at that. Look at all that ooey gooey, you know, filling in there, the cinnamon, the sugars. Look at all that. Oh, hold up, don't you just want to lick it right now? Gosh, that looks so good. Woo! I tell you, these are going to be, you're going to think Grandma's standing right here in the kitchen. Go. That one's pretty good. And we haven't forgot about this little guy. We're going to go ahead and stick him in there. We don't want to waste him. Now, you just check out that. Now, we had a viewer that watches us, and we want to thank you. A shout out to one of our viewers. They were wanting to know about how many when I make a recipe, how much does it usually make when we make the serving size. And looks like this is going to make about 10 cinnamon rolls, this recipe. So if you were to just want it smaller, then you would cut that in half. If you want to make more, then you would just double it. We're going to now we're going to put it back in the proof box for another 30 to 40 minutes so these things can rise again. We are ready to put these now. These cinnamon rolls have been rising now for the second time in the pan. These cinnamon rolls now have had the second chance of rising, and we are now ready to put these things in the oven. Look at the size of how much they rose. They're going to cook like that. It's only going to take about 10 minutes for these to cook nice and golden brown, and we're going to take them out, and they are going to be so delicious. We're going to put them in the oven. Hey darling, hey, you ready for a cinnamon roll? Look what it's done, guys. Look at these beauties. Oh my goodness. Can you believe that? Look at all this. Look at all that stuff. If you look really close, you can see the brown sugar and the butter and all of that that's caramelized, and it's just oozing to the top, and it is just trying to come out. It is so beautiful. That is going to make a heck of a bite when you bite into it. Tiny, come here. Come here, Bubba. Hi, Tiny. Hi, Bubba. Hey. What's up? Hey. Hi, Bubba. Hi, darling. Tiny. Hi, darling. Hi, looky here. No, hey. You can see that they kept their height, and they're absolutely gorgeous. They're nice and golden brown. All that cinnamon is just flowing out of the top, and sugars. And I even right here on this edge, I put a few pecans inside because my husband loves pecans. My mouth is just watering. This is gonna knock your socks off if you don't try this, because it's gonna be so good. And we have our icing that we stirred up, remember earlier? And look at that. It is so thick and so beautiful and so sweet, and it's coffee flavored and just black coffee flavored, but it's gonna be sweet. And we're gonna put it right on top of here. This will be good for breakfast. This will be good any time of the day. I am telling you, I've got people right now wanting me to hurry and get through this video just so I can so they can have a cinnamon roll, but not before I show you how beautiful these are. I can smell them. It smells like cinnamon in here and sugar. You're gonna love it. These are really hot right now. We are gonna go ahead and we're gonna put some icing on this. It's gonna start melting that icing, but it's gonna be so delicious. Oh gosh. It's gonna look kind of like a cake. Look at that. And don't you worry if the icing kind of looks like it's melting, because it's just gonna melt right down in there with that sugar and the cinnamons. It's just gonna make it taste even better. We're gonna use every last bit of our icing. Gosh. Look at that, guys. Good grief. If you don't, I don't even know how to put this into words, because it's just so good and it's so beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and get one out. Now I could put one of these on a beautiful plate, but the cinnamon roll will stand all by itself, so I don't need to. Gosh. Woo. I think part of it was left in there. Now, I threw some pecans in there, like I said, for my husband, because my husband loves pecans. Look at that. Gosh. I have a bag of them right here. And I'm even going to put some pecans on part of them. My kids are the ones that don't want them with pecans. My husband loves them with pecans. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put some with pecans and some without pecans. It's going to be gorgeous. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we are going to taste these yummy, delicious things, and we're going to see how they taste. gonna taste these yummy, delicious things, and we're gonna see how they taste. I already know how they taste because I've had them before. Mmm. Mmm. Mm-hmm. No. They're so soft. Oh my goodness. They're still hot, and they're soft, and they're buttery, and all that coffee icing. It's like a coffee, kind of a soft coffee donut. It is so good, and it's just melting in your mouth. Look at me. Look how soft this is. Look, I'm just squeezing that. Look. Look, it's just soft and just moist, and oh gosh. It's ooey gooey, all that sugar, all that sugar, and the cinnamon and butter. It's just made it super soft, and it's the dough itself. This kind of cinnamon roll. Can you see that? Look at that cinnamon and stuff just oozing out of there, just flooding out of there. Is that not gorgeous? Good grief! Oh, it's so beautiful. Gosh, guys, you've got to try this cinnamon roll. It's absolutely delicious. I'm gonna finish the cinnamon roll, and me and Tiny want to see you on the next video. We hope you're enjoying our videos. Please subscribe to us. Let us know. We love you. We want to see you on the next one. See you later, guys.